Here we go. Good evening, and welcome to this special live edition of Food for Thought with Crown Royal. And usually we tape this thing, and I had some shortcomings about actually ever doing this thing live. But I decided because there's a lot of things that's going on, and kind of actually need to comment on in real time. So I felt as though it was proper to just shoot this live and, you know, I'll try to censor myself, but I doubt it because I done had a couple drinks. But we got a lot of things to go over tonight. This might be actually maybe what you feel as though it's going to be like maybe a 45, 50-minute soapbox because I will give you some facts, but a lot of this is going to be my opinions and how I feel about certain things that's going on in the world today that I think is prevalent that we need to discuss. So first, coming to you live from the Plug Studio Network Studios, live. Fuck that. Stop. I don't like the like. Either you're gonna love my stuff or don't say anything. Okay? So don't just hit the little thumbs up and like it. You either love it or not. And then you share. First thing that I want to discuss is that so-called presidential debate last night. And I say so-called because I don't know if we learned anything. I don't even know if it was a debate because I debated in high school. I've been married, so I know about debating and taking different discussions and different sides of an argument. And I don't feel as though, truthfully, we learned anything that we didn't already know last night. And I really feel sorry for anybody that came to that so-called debate last night and wanted to get some type of understanding of either one of the candidates. I had this conversation with my son prior to the debate, and we asked each other were we going to watch it. And I was like, I don't know. I don't even think so. I mean, maybe I'll just wait and see the clips, the hot button topics, whatever, because I already know what it's going to be about. And then I said, you know what? I'm going to watch it because you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to discuss it tomorrow on my show. So I want to get it. So I want to sit down and take detailed notes and see it in real time. And I'm not going to say I was disappointed because it was exactly what I already thought it was going to be. It was going to be a fucking shit show. It was disgusting. And anybody that came to that to want to gain any type of knowledge on maybe the most important election in our lifetime in the past 60 years just learned that this person, the fucking casino owner, the fake ass billionaire, is a clown, which we already knew. And it was a bully, which we already knew. And it's a racist, and we already knew. If you didn't know those three things, I hope you got it now. And all we could see about Uncle Joe, he was trying to be presidential. He was trying to regurgitate some of his talking points. But I don't even think he did a great job at that, to be honest. I'm going to be totally honest with you. Some of the points that Trump hit him on, he should have been prone and ready to actually say something about. He kept on hitting him with socialism and being a puppet of the left. And all he kept on saying is that's a lie, that's a lie, that's a lie. That's not true. I'm the Democratic Party. And in some aspects, he was actually true by saying that. But when he got hit on the 1994 crime bill and calling black people super predators, that was actually the program that they used. He did pass that crime bill in the Senate. That was backed by Clinton. And that set a bunch of different mechanisms for mass incarceration and a lot of different things that put the black community back. And he still owes us an apology for that. And I say all this as though I'm going to vote for him. And you're probably sitting there saying like, "Whoa, don't sound like you want to vote for him," because one or two things I can disagree with. I disagree with Obama with about one or two things, and I still voted for him because I'm not a one issue voter. There's a lot of you out there that's one issue voters, but I would contest to this. They got two more debates coming up. He has to do better. He has to show that he is not a punk. Because I'm gonna tell you, like, where I come from, you don't talk about nobody's kids. You don't talk about nobody's kids. You don't talk about nobody's mother. And I understand you was on the stage and the whole nation is one, but he did stand up for his kids, but he should have been adamant from the beginning. He waited to the end. When he brought up his child at the beginning, he should have cut him down. He should have cut him too short to shit. Because one thing about a bully, when you punch him in his fucking nose, he backs up and he shuts up. He just kept on murmuring and saying whatever he did was feed them to say. So to try to discredit it. And you know why he was doing that? I'm explaining to y'all why he was doing that. Because he's losing. And he knows he's losing. And he's not only losing on the polls and losing his grip on the election, he's losing his life. That was a man in a corner. And I'm not even going to say, that was a orangutan in the corner. He loses this election, he is going to prison. He has all these lawsuits, and y'all seen it. If you didn't see the news, you're not paying attention. He has all these different lawsuits up against him. He has over a $424 million loan payment that's due, balloon payment that's due in 2022. And if you don't believe me, fact check me. Fact check me. Look this shit up. That was a man that was trying to hold on to his life. And the only thing he could do is spit the rhetoric that his core base of ignorant, racist sycophants love. This is why we say vote, people. You know, we get tired and you're always sitting there like, we always talking about the vote. And what does it mean? How many of y'all stayed home 2016? Because it didn't matter. And you see what you got. I ask you this. I always ask myself this. When I was married and we was having kids and getting deeper and deeper into, life, I always wait at the end of the year and I said, are we better off than we were last year? With our job status and our salary and, our house and the kids' livelihood. And a lot of times the cliche is, are you better off when it comes to politics and the president? Are you better off than when you were 4 years ago? Let's think about that. Soak that in. Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? And if you are, God bless you. Majority of us with COVID and unemployment, sickness and death, and not knowing, losing health insurance, not knowing if we can put food on the table or if we're going to be able to pay the rent. A lot of us are not better off than we were 4 years ago. And I'm not here to be no card carrying member of the Democratic Party or to be sitting here singing Uncle Joe's praises because I got my shit with him. But I'm going to explain to you like this. If anybody watched that last night and anybody seen clips about that, and if you wasn't embarrassed and purely embarrassed to be American, what the so-called greatest nation on the planet, and the flag waver of democracy, this man said the ballots. They throwing ballots away. If these people are they voting twice and this, that, and other, they sending out mass ballots and they don't even, people aren't even asking for them. He don't want you to vote. He don't want you to vote. Why? Because they want you to stay in your little hole. They don't want you to be engaged. They don't want you to care. Because if you care, that's how they lose power. The Washington Post said Donald Trump basically tweeted for 90 minutes out loud. And I think that's a great summary of what actually happened last night. Because I could actually visually see him walking around in the White House in his slippers and his robe, saying all this shit, walking around, drinking his Diet Coke and eating his fish fillet from McDonald's. Because that's what he tweeted. It just seemed like it was a Twitter rant. It was no decorum. There was no respect. And guess what? There were no issues talked about. He couldn't tell you what he did the last 3.5 years. And he didn't tell you what he would do for the next 4. Who wants to deal with that? Let's be real, people. Consequences to everything. It's consequences. It's always consequences to what happens. He said it was consequences of him winning an election is the reason why he could pick whoever he wants for the Supreme Court, even though the election is 34 days away from now. Because we won the election. He's a fucking idiot. Because the election's not over yet. He's talking about because he won the election 3.5 years ago. By the Electoral College at that. Not even a popular vote, but I'll get to that. I just want you, I'm going to move off the debate because we're going to move in. Today's discussion is about the judicial system and how it works and how important it is to us and what we need to actually focus on going forward. And I'll be remiss if I don't get into section 2 of my soapbox tonight, the Breonna Taylor indictment. Now this leans into the judiciary anyway. Now, we all know, and we've been outraged, and there's been protests, and nobody got indicted for a murder. We had an indictment of Brett Hankerson for wanton engagement, 3 counts of wanton engagement, which basically meant because he shot into somebody, the bullets went into other people's apartments. Well, went into other people's apartments, but only the white neighbors, the three white neighbors in the one apartment, that's what he got indicted for. Not the other black neighbors that were on the other side of her and above her that actually bullets went through their house apartments too. This is white supremacy, people. And y'all probably sitting there saying, if you didn't know, the Attorney General for Kentucky, David Cameron, is black. Everybody in your skin ain't your kin. David Cameron is the first black statewide voted politician in Kentucky. And he just so happens to be a Republican. He actually spoke at the Republican National Convention. He's been seen plenty of times elbowing, well, with Donald Trump, and the actual Donald Trump said he's a rising star in the party. He was a mentor. He's a mentor to Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell of Kentucky, who's a bastard. You look him in his face, he's a fucking vampire. And I was having a conversation Saturday night. Had a barbecue, and we sitting around, as us black folks do, and we start talking politics. And somebody said that they were so upset. No, they asked my opinion. They were upset, but they asked my opinion because they knew I did this show, and they know I usually have my my ear to the politics and everything. And they said, "Were you upset about the indictment? How did you feel?" I said, "It was what I expected." Well, that doesn't seem fair. Nah, it's what I seem to expect because I know America. I know the legal system. Explain to you something like this. That indictment, that grand jury didn't convene for damn near 7 months. This happened back in March. It was well over 6 months. I'm telling you, when a prosecutor wants to prosecute a case, they put their ducks in a row real quick, fast, in a hurry, and they go straight to a daggone grand jury. And they can get an indictment. Any prosecutor can get an indictment on anyone because the rules of a grand jury. What you don't understand, what a lot of y'all might not understand, the rules of a grand jury is this. There is a prosecutor pleading the case to some jurors. There is no defense attorney. There is no defense put up there. The only thing the people on the grand jury have to go with is the evidence that is produced by the prosecutor and handed it to them. And they can word it any type of way. So whereas they can come back with an indictment. So at least it has to go to trial. And then you actually have to go in front of a judge. And it's up to the judge for have an evidentiary hearing or things of that nature so they can go forward. But to get an indictment, shit. It's easy peasy, baby. But David Cameron, the Attorney General, decided himself that those officers did not do murder or manslaughter. He put that on himself because if he presented a case to the grand jury about if they committed murder or manslaughter, the indictment would have came back that way. This is why the people are asking for the transcript to see what the evidence was. And as of today, they delayed it. It was supposed to come out today. Well, today's September 30th. If you It's been delayed till Friday because they said supposedly they're going to black out all the innocent people, the witnesses, and things of that nature. But nothing smells good in this. Nothing. They had 12 witnesses. 11 of them said they didn't hear the police notify themselves that it was and that they were coming in. One out of the 12 witnesses said that they heard somebody say police. They didn't say that the first time. They said that supposedly they changed their story a few weeks later when they came back to interview him again. But they didn't take into consideration, and what? They didn't give the grand jury the 11 testimonies of those other witnesses that said they didn't hear it. Did you see? It wasn't a no-knock warrant. It wasn't a no-knock warrant. They knocked. They let them know that it was there. So let's throw that out. Bullshit. The police officer said they shot because the boyfriend shot and hit one of the police officers, so then they unloaded. But the ballistics show the bullets didn't match the boyfriend. Didn't match his gun. So what that mean? That cop got hit by what? Friendly fire. Probably got hit by one of his own cops. It's been more tapes that done came out just as of yesterday about on their body cam and with having the boyfriend down after they done killed that girl. And they didn't follow procedure when they went back into the house. One cop went back into the house when he wasn't supposed to. The procedure is when a police officers are in a shooting or something to that extent, each one of them had to be separated from one another, and they needed to go away and go into different cars so they could be interviewed. None of that shit happened. Another reason why I knew the shit was going down the way it was, when I found out they gave her family $12 million settlement. I said, oh shit. That's a lot of money. That's a lot more money than what a lot of people get in these circumstances. And you might say, and I'm going to tell you like this, $12 million, I don't care how much money it is, it ain't bringing that baby back. I wouldn't trade any one of my kids for $12 million. But when it was such a large settlement, I said, oh, the shenanigans is about to come down. Let me explain something to you people that I want y'all to understand. That money come from you. And you might not understand, you might not know this. If there's a shooting in your community, or if any police officer is getting sued or case in your community, that's coming out of your tax dollars. The people of Louisville and the people of the state of Kentucky are paying that $12 million settlement. And over the past year in America, the beautiful, there's been over $300 million in police shooting settlements across the country. And that is from taxpayers. The police officers involved don't pay a penny. They don't lose their pensions half the time, just like 2 of the 3 in this case don't even lose their jobs. That's your money, people. That's your taxes. We are paying for police brutality. The American citizens are. Let me explain something to you like this. Let me ask you this question. If you were liable, which you probably are, in whatever type of job you are, or if you are liable for your inconsistencies and your fuck ups on your job, and that's going to cost you your job, and that's going to cost you your pension, would you take your job more seriously? Probably so. Brett Hankerson, the one police officer that was charged with wanton engagement and or whatever that bullshit is, he was fired from the Lexington Police Department and then hired in Louisville afterwards. You probably asking me, shit, I get fired from a job. A lot of times I can't even really find another gig in the same industry because they got a paper trail, and they find out that I was fired. They don't have that with police. There is no database. It's all closed book and washed away, and they can just go somewhere else. The police officer that killed Tamir Rice in Ohio, the 12-year-old boy that had the play gun, he was fired from a previous police department and got his job there. These is all things. This is all the system. And then people sit there and wonder why we talk about we need to change the system. The system is broken. And I done told you all the time I've been sitting up on this desk in every damn show. The system is not broken. It works exactly the way it's supposed to. It's just fucked up. And don't nobody have the ability to actually come down and figure out what's really going on. There's going to be another Breonna Taylor. It's going to be another George Floyd. It's going to be another Jacob Blake. I just need you to understand that moving forward, just like people are rising up now and they saying no more and they discussed it, you have to rise up and take it upon yourself in your neighborhood to look at the policies of your police department and look at the whole ideal of qualified immunity. That's what the term is. Qualified immunity is a term, and it's actually a law that's on the books that's really covered by basically all 50 states. It just actually got taken away in New York. The New York Attorney General just kicked away qualified immunity for the police. Qualified immunity is you are not liable for your actions. A police officer cannot be liable monetarily for whatever happens. So they can kill somebody and you can't go after their pension. Even when police officers get fired, they still have their pensions. I want y'all to know that. I'm pretty sure you like, oh, well, he got fired. Nah, that motherfucker still got his pension. They probably going down to some island, probably going to Florida and going to go get in a boat or going to, Mexico and living their life because it's cheaper to live in Mexico, and they got their pension, their $1 million pensions for the rest of their life. And then they get older, they had a pension, and they get their Social Security after they've been killing niggas all their life. That's a good plan. That's a good plan. A lot of people probably signed up for that shit, huh? It's crazy. Because all the things in this case line up that was some daggone dirt. But the system failed us because the system is set up to take care of the boys in blue. It's not a black or white thing. It's a blue thing. It's a police officer thing. The unions is so powerful. Y'all saw on that stupid ass debate last night when Uncle Joe was being a punk. Trump said none of the police unions love you. Nobody endorsed. Who endorsed you, Joe? None of the police unions endorsed you. Yeah. Police union endorsement it's not that of a great thing in 2020. Sorry. But he shied away from the answer because he talks about he doesn't want to defund the police, and he talks about reimagining police. And I know a lot of these terms to the average person seems oblivion and you don't understand because there's more nuance that comes into it. And I promise I'm going to actually detail this in a couple weeks in our mass incarceration and policing episode. But I had to move this situation up because this is what's happening right now. Because I didn't even want to talk about the courts and the court system. But it was prevalent. To reiterate, David Cameron, the Attorney General, failed you, people of Kentucky and Louisville, and consequences. Vote. This is always going to be my thing until November 3rd. I'm going to keep on telling y'all, consequences. The consequences to things that you do. You need to vote. You probably sitting there talking to me like, why? What does that mean? Because the Attorney General is a politician. He is an elected official. Just like the one that's in your state. Just like all the prosecutors that are in your communities. They are elected officials. If they are not working for you, you vote them out. Be more engaged, people. See what's going on in the world. Don't just holler at the sky and bitch to your husband and wife or sit around with the brown liquor at the cookout and say this is bullshit. Actually get up off the couch and actually make a phone call. Write a letter. Do your part. I'm going to end that part. Moving on to the third part, because this is going to be more. I've been going on for half an hour. Some of y'all probably think I just love to hear myself talk. I do, but it's actually interesting information. The third and final part that I want to discuss is in the judicial branch, in the Supreme Court. And this is very important, again, because this is in the news. President Trump nominated Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court on Saturday. And she started meeting with Republicans on the Hill on Monday. And they're going to try to push this nominee, if not before the election, which is 34 days away again, probably after, during the lame duck session. Let me explain to you how so out of the norm this is. I need to explain to you how disrespectful this is. The fastest confirmation for the Supreme Court ever has been 47 days. The average confirmation of days is 106. We have never pushed a Supreme Justice on the court to a vote this fast. Reasons why. The Supreme Court is very important. There's 9 justices. This is a lifetime appointment. This woman is 48 years old. She can serve on the court for 40 years. Most, just like all federal judges, is lifetime appointments. We don't have no take back. Let me explain something to you about the Supreme Court on this end. And Trump is going to get this one. He will get a third Supreme appointment in a 4-year cycle. By hook or by crook, by luck or by fuck. Nobody has ever had 3 Supreme Court appointments in a 4-year tenure. This is even more egregious because several years ago, during 2016, when President Barack Obama was in office, Anthony Scalia died. And the Senate refused to. He put in a nomination for Merrick Garland, who was a great judicialist. He was District Court of D.C. Superior Court judge. Excellent record. Not too liberal. Not too. Just a plain old moderate. Actually, when he got nominated for his job on the D.C. circuit, he got 91 senators to vote yes for him. So, what was wrong with him? Nothing. They didn't want Obama to get another one. They cited the elections has consequences. We should wait till the next president. And that was in February, 10 months before the election. So they didn't bring it to the floor of the Senate because Mitch McConnell is a motherfucker. Yes, he is. Because they cited the election. And all these Republican senators now that stood tall in 2016 and said wait for election, now pushing for this woman to get through now. Because politics is local. They don't care what they said 4 years ago because they didn't have the office. It wasn't going to be their justice. With these lifetime appointments, you actually run, control policy for decades. This will move the court from being a 5-4 conservative to liberal to a 6-3. Because these people didn't even wait until the woman to Ruth Bader Ginsburg was in the ground before they nominated her replacement. That woman just got in the ground yesterday. This is how cold-hearted these people are. But this is how the craziness even. You should even be more upset. Bush and Trump. Bush, George W. Bush, Donald J. Trump. Once Coney gets on there, that'll be 5 appointments to the Supreme Court by those two. Just by those two. You want to hear something crazy about that? Those are the 2 presidents that are in charge and they didn't win the popular vote. They both were minority fucking winners by that stupid electoral college. But they going to have 5 Supreme Court justices. and they were not voted on by the people. System ain't broke. It works the way they want it to work. Why in 2020 are we using the electoral college? Hmm? This is going to go into my rant. What probably sitting there saying, what do we get to do? What can we do? And I'm gonna tell you now, because I'm not the one that got the philosophy and the idea to fix it. But I can tell you what can be done if they choose to fix it. One, if you watched that debate last night, Trump kept on pounding Biden about, are you going to pack the court? Are you going to kill the filibuster? And everybody probably sitting there like, what's the filibuster? What's packing the court? The filibuster is a stupid procedural thing in the Senate, whereas though you need 60 senators to actually vote and concur on a specific motion so it can move forward. If you actually outlaw and break the filibuster, then you will only need a majority of votes in order to move forward. This is why a lot of times in certain things, nothing gets done in the Senate because you need that 60 vote threshold. Get rid of the filibuster. Now everything is on majority vote. What's packing the court? People have made suggestions that because by Trump actually getting this extra nominee through, even if Biden wins, then he should in turn actually turn and pack the court and actually go from 9 justices to 11 or 13, 15, 17. And y'all probably sitting there like, it can that be done? Yeah, it can be done because actually there's no number for the Supreme Court. And it's not Biden that actually does it. He was smart in deflecting it by he actually told y'all, call your senators, your House of Representatives, and vote. Because that's what decides how many people are on the Supreme Court. I'm pro packing the court. Only mainly one reason is because it's antiquated. 9 justices is antiquated. There was never an actual set time. Originally, when they started with the Supreme Court, it was 5 justices. At a certain point, it was all the way up to 10. And let me look at it. Let me look at the number. 1801, it was 5. And then they switched it in 1807, they went to 7. In 1837, they went to 9. Then in 1863, they went to 10. These are all acts that Congress made on how many justices were actually on the Supreme Court. What they did in 1861, they reduced it from 10 to 7. And the only reason they did that was because Andrew Johnson was actually being impeached. Sounds familiar? They reduced the amount of Supreme Court justices so Andrew Johnson would never have a chance to put one on the Supreme Court. They went from 10 to 7. So they said, and whenever somebody would either die or retire, it only had to be 7. So they had to lose 3 because they impeached this man. Didn't they impeach Donald Trump too? But he still got to do and get another justice. And then after that, only at the time, only 2 retired, so they went down to 8. So in 1869, they made it whereas though it was 9. In the 1869 Judicial Act, and it hasn't been moved since then. So it's been 9 Supreme Court justices for 150 years. Antiquated. You can add more if the Congress allows it. and it should be. It's the norm because actually it's plenty of districts and circuit courts around the country that have more. In California, my sister lives in California. Her district courts of appeals and they have their Supreme Court. It has 29 judges. I know that that was who is that? Somebody said that he was impeached, not removed. I I do know it's the fact of that they still went around the quorum of the possibility of it is not his job to actually so close to an election. Actually, to be honest to everybody, and if y'all don't know, the election's already started. It's well over 1.5 million votes have actually been cast throughout the country with all early voting. During the election, he is making appointments. But this is what he does. Another thing that I want to piggyback on from last night, he made a big thing about how many judges he's put in place. And he's like, oh, by the time I'm done, I'm going to put 300 judges on the court. Why? He made it seem like President Obama slipped on his job of actually doing anything about putting up the court. And that's not how it works. These courts with these lifetime appointments, they are set by senators, the Senate. Mitch McConnell, as being this majority leader, he blocked. We have a graph that shows how many judges have been put on the court and how many was put on the court in the last 2 years of their terms. And if the graph would show, Obama got the lowest amount of judges passed in his last 2 year term, or at like a 4 and a 7% clip. That they left those jobs open. So if they won the presidency in 16, they can put their judges in place. And when their judges are in place, do you know what happens? Because they are more conservative and they have more conservative leanings, they are more favorable to gun laws. They're more favorable to actually limiting and actually getting rid of abortion. They're actually limiting the ACA or Obamacare. Obamacare is coming up in the election in the next week after election. And Coney Barrett, she is already on record against the decision of it being saved last time it came up. All these things seems like semantics and it's politics. It still doesn't make it right. And of course, they're doing it because one thing about the Republicans is they just worry about their messaging and their positioning. Trust me, a lot of their senators are up for re-election now, and they may lose their seats. But guess what? They're going to be heroes to their party, and they're going to be paid in the private sector. They can lose. Today is September 30th. Usually, and I'm telling you this because I'm a politics junkie, tomorrow, the session is over. They're supposed, October 1st to the election day, these people are out campaigning to keep their jobs. They don't come back. And then usually what happens, especially in an election year when it's a new president situation, in a lame duck, when they come back after the election until January, they don't pass legislation, nothing of anything crucial, because a lot of them has lost their jobs. And they're not talking for the people anymore. I guarantee you, if they don't get a vote on this Supreme Court justice by the election, it will be done right after. But I believe they're going to do it the week of because, again, the ACA is back up for nomination and trying to gut it the week after the election. It's it's one of the first things that they're going to put out in the new session of the Supreme Court. And she already said that she's not recusing herself from that argument, even though she's on record saying that she was against it. But she refuses to recuse herself. Shenanigans, people. This goes all back to the fact that, going back to, things have consequences. We vote. Vote your conscience. Vote for what is right. The only way these things that have been put onto us and these type of shenanigans happen is you have to vote. I don't care if you have to go in person. If you are going to vote by mail, find out all the procedures, especially in these states that you have to actually fill out your ballot and put it in a separate a two type of envelope and sign an envelope, and maybe you have to have a witness or affidavit. And find out another key things that you need to find out is find out if you are in a state if with mail-in balloting that allows you to have is a Q state, whereas a cure state, whereas though they actually will allow you to correct a mistake and they will notify you. Because sometimes they will not notify in certain states. If you make a mistake, they just toss it. Make sure you go onto your websites or whatever and you find out what terms you need to use. Can you mail it? Do you have a drop box in your town? Or they're telling you right now, if you are mailing in your ballots, mail it in at least 2 weeks before the election. Most people say a week before so it can get there by November 3rd. Try to do it as early as possible, even 2 weeks ahead of time. Also, take a picture of your ballot, take a screenshot of it, frontwards and backwards. And actually, most states, it might not be your state, they have a tracking. That use that tracking number so you can find out exactly where your ballot is and if it was received and all those things. This is serious, people. Serious. And if you have issues and you can't do that, mask up, get out there and pull the lever. Because these things that I'm talking about will continue to go on unless you put your name down and say, I don't want to deal with it anymore. I'm done. It's been stressful and tiring. I'm just going to keep on saying it till I go turn blue in the face and maybe till I grow hair back. You don't have to put up with this. Make your voice counted in any way you can. The smallest thing that you can do is vote. Bigger things you can do is rally around, talk to your people around you, and make sure they registered and they more in engaged with everything. We'll get into that. Deidre Prince has been actually getting in. Are we talking about the system, about black and brown people? We should discuss how things are right and wrong. Yes, we do. I discuss it, and this is right. And this is what I'm talking about, whereas though you seem like you are very, this person seems like they're actually more enlightened and they understand what's going on. But it's a lot of people out there that doesn't, and we should actually take your knowledge and actually explain it to some other people out there, just like I'm trying to do, so we can kind of move on and be better. But I'm only going to do my little bit of part on here every week. I don't know what I'll be talking about next week. I think it's either segregation or reparations or mass incarceration. These are all everything. We got so many fucking problems when it comes to us in America. I can't even pinpoint it. But for now, that's gonna be food for thought this week. I hope you guys actually like the live. I don't know if we're gonna be doing it anymore, or maybe we'll do it even more. But until then, class dismissed.